Didn't like it because I was always the odd man out. So I'd like to call this meeting to order. And if everyone could please stand and do the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So what we have in front of you, I would like to get approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve.
It's been approved. Second.
Second.
Second, thank you. Okay, so we were just kind of a little bit discussing our minutes. They were last August, and so we don't have them to go over to approve those minutes. So I would just put that on board until the next meeting or something.
Yeah,
Should we do that?
We'll just postpone those to the next meeting. If you could email me those minutes that we need to approve, I'll make sure that it gets on the district website. And
Well, yeah, let's figure out, because we had done a bunch of them. I just don't know which ones aren't online. Because they were
Yes.
posted on the website, I'm pretty sure.
are they on the website?
thought-
already?
Yeah, all we need is go, I just need, we can go into bond.
And
click
I'll,
in the
and
bond
I'll
and
find
they'll be in the
whichever
minutes will be in
one.
there.
The last meeting I have is August. And they're done and ready to sign. And I believe you should probably have them in your inbox, but we've never been together to approve
Right.
them. So
Awesome.
I
Okay, great.
apologize for not
No,
having a
No,
copy.
don't
okay.
apologize.
No,
please.
no, don't worry.
Okay, so at this moment then, we are going to go to bond financials.
Okay, so I'm glad we're coming back together here. We have some strategies that we wanted to run past you guys. And it has two more. And, but I wanted to start with the bond financials, and this is a report that was generated by Dave McKay, who's our consultant for the project. And it provides a pretty good picture about where we're at. Okay. So, oh, you need one.
Please, sir.
Yes, you do.
Thank you.
I walked off.
That's okay.
So you got the revenue side and you got the expense side. And we tried to be very thorough from the owner's standpoint. And the budgets that we've seen from Straight Line and the contractor, that those are budgets from their standpoint. And so sometimes there's differences. So in terms of revenue, we're looking at a little over 5 million, and you can see the revenue sources there. Also, so you have the bond proceeds, you have the awesome grant, which is the state funding or the match. We also have some ESSER funds there. And we put in the dates when we have to spend those dollars by. And ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 funds can be used for air quality. And in this case, it would go towards the HVAC system. And then there was a 474,500 general fund allocation through the budgeting process last spring. So that gives us a grand total of just over 5 million. Now, if you look at the expense piece, you have your hard costs, and your hard costs will capture the GMPs that I'm going to be sharing with you tonight. In terms of, we have GMPs for the electrical, panel room, HVAC, and Voc Center. The building restrooms is already said and done. That project was completed. And then we built in a little bit of contingency, which is a standard operating procedure. And then you have all your soft costs. These are costs that usually come up during the course of a bond project that sometimes you have to reach to for extra expenses. And you could read that to yourself as easily as I can read it to you. But the bottom line is, you look at the end result for total project costs, and it's $5,404,902. So you take that figure minus your revenue, and you'll see that we have an overage just over 300,000. Now I have Naomi Shadwick as our grant writer, and she is hopefully going to be able to find some funds. She thinks up to 500,000 that can be used for CTE development, and could be dedicated to the Voc Center, but it's still in process right now. Question?
Are these GMPs based on the decision of the soft, was it a soft shell? Or is that,
These figures are everything that I'm sharing with you. The soft is, I think, like 1.8.
occupied?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that's what we put in there.
Got the gap is
So
much
there's a
larger.
lot of decisions that still need to be made, but we've got time. The clock is ticking. We have to do something.
Yes.
And so we had some processes that the board wanted some assurances on. And so we engaged our contractor, CV Construction, in those processes. They responded very appropriately. And we feel with our attorney, as well as Dave McKay for consulting, they all said, they've responded favorably. And so we came up with a game plan. The game plan that I'm going to present to the board tomorrow night for approval is where I'm going to say we need to approve 3 of the 4 GMPs. The 4th one I would not recommend at this point would be vocational. Because what came back from CB Construction is they had to pull out of doing the electrical themselves. So they're actually trying to get attract some bids right now. They've assured me that they'll have some bids by next week. And so if we approve, because electrical's through the whole thing, if we approve 3 of the 4 GMPs, and then with the adage that we would only approve them with renegotiating the actual GMP cost based upon those electrical contracts coming in, and we would have full disclosure with seeing those bids, then we could renegotiate that. And at that point, say they came in higher, say they came in lower, say they came in right on par. I mean, we'll have to make those decisions at that time. And then we could try to figure out, okay, what do we want to do with the vocational center? Do we do soft only? That's non-occupiable. Do we not? What do we do with the vocational center? Also, it's going to give Naomi some time to see if she can't scrounge up some grant dollars to help us with that, because I think at that point the decision will be much more palatable of what to do. So this is going to at least get us going with the project, moving forward, providing the essential items we need for this building, which is electrical and HVAC. We know that those are needed desperately. To give you a little bit of a report on our boiler, I'm not sure if Keenan is on the internet or not, but Keenan's been working really hard to keep our boiler running this year, because we were hoping that we would be far enough along that we would have the HVAC system. So there's been a lot of components he's had to change out this year, and but he's been doing a good job limping along. But I think that also adds to the urgency why we need to go to a new heating and cooling system.
I'm on, Sean.
Oh, thanks, Keenan. I was just talking about the boiler. Anything you want to update us on?
Right now it's running. We just replaced the igniter again. The pump was replaced 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. So we should be good for a while. The biggest thing is all this is unexpected cost because we were supposed to have HVAC by now. So the fuel is unexpected cost.
And Keenan, do you remember approximately how much the fuel was? Because we had to fill that tank.
It's about, well, last time it was around 14,000. And we're going to do that at least one more time before school's out.
Okay. But we have heat running. And we're just kind of limping through this. Anything else, Keenan, on the boiler?
Nope. Just keep fingers crossed it keeps running.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. So we're going to get into the GMPs here in a second and probably answer some more detailed questions. Also, Shirley is printing off a document that I wanted to review with the Oversight Committee in regards to the bond and how the taxation process works and why things aren't as static as I think a lot of people were hoping it would be. So more on that in just a second. Anything on the financials? Any questions, thoughts, input?
Well, I do have a question because I thought at one time CB Construction said that they would do the electric themselves if we couldn't, I mean, if that.
They did,
Didn't they?
yes. And
Okay, so why are they bowing out now of their, and why do we, what happened?
good question. Is Derek on there? Sorry, I can't see.
No.
Scott is. Scott, can you address that question? Nathan, can we get Scott Marshall on?
The button works.
Oh, good.
Um,
Hi, Scott. How are you?
good. I am not for certain why they're wanting to change that. I can venture a guess. And it would be because of, I think,
Scott, you mind if I say something?
please feel free.
I believe, personally, I think this is a question that Derek himself should be answering. Not
Yeah,
Scott.
Keenan, we're
Keenan.
not seeing Derek on right now. I don't see him there.
Is Andy?
No.
No.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure if Scott knew. So
I'm not 100% certain. Potentially, it may be because he wants to get one electrical contractor to do everything, because it's all kind of interwoven into each other because of the power upgrade portion. But I'm not certain.
okay. Nathan, if you can hear me, Andy just texted me and said he was trying to get on. I don't know if you can help him or not.
Tell him to click on the Zoom link. I was on the other, a different link came up in the invitation, so maybe
Okay.
that's what it is.
Click. The Zoom link. Okay. So while we're waiting for Andy to join us, are there other questions that we can discuss or talk about?
Any patrons that would like to speak?
There was a schedule that was developed a while ago, but we know it's changed. So no, I don't have an updated schedule.
But they're ready to go on this GMP. they're ready to go.
Yeah,
So part of that hopefully would be a commitment on the schedule.
yes. Yes, absolutely. In a second, in a second. So that's a good question. I'll look into that. I know that Derek is trying to rework these, so the GMPs I'm actually gonna be sharing with you are what was previously submitted to us. And he's trying to see if there's anything that need to be updated in time for the board meeting tomorrow. And I'm assuming that a schedule will be part of that, but I'll double check.
Did he get the link, Sean?
Andy says all he has is a Google link, not a Zoom link.
Do you have his number? I could text it to him.
I just emailed him the link.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Andy right there. Hi, Andy. Can you hear me? Oh, he hung up. Is he trying right now? Sorry for the delay.
It's okay.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Andy, good to hear from you, buddy. How you doing?
Another year older, a couple more pounds, you know, all that happy anniversary thing.
Yeah, well, that's good. Hey, Andy, there was a question asked. We just finished going over some of the financials.
Uh-huh.
And for those of you watching on the internet, we've got this agenda and the information that goes along with the agenda posted on board books. All you have to do is go to the board link, scroll down to board books, click on that, and then you'll see a schedule there and tonight's meeting, and you can click on the agenda and see that information. But Andy, we just went over the financial report that was created by Dave McKay at HMK Consulting. And that we see we have an overage of about a little over 300,000. And so there was a question on the plan that I had discussed with Derek the other day in terms of moving forward with 3 of our 4 GMPs.
Uh-huh.
And Derek had to pull out of the electrical, and I know you guys are currently working on bids for that. He said we'd probably have some in by next week. And the question was asked, why did that happen? And I didn't know how to answer that. Do you know?
Well, I'm going to say, first of all, most of those numbers that were used to put those GMPs together are very, very dated at this point. You know, it's been close to 3 months since we last talked, since those GMPs went in. Most of that information was dated at that time. So we just need to go back and revisit with all of the subcontractors we had on board and confirm, are those numbers still good, or do they need to re-up them? You know, many vendors will change their pricing structure come turn of the first of every year. So we need to go back and reach out to those guys who have those qualifications in.
So we've had these numbers for 3 months and we haven't had a meeting to discuss them.
We've been in negotiations with the GMPs per the board's direction to get some things clarified. And it's taken a while.
So I guess we're gonna go back to the electrical because they did, they're backing out on that, and they did promise us that they would do the electrical if we couldn't get it taken care of by another construction company. Do you remember that? Am I incorrect?
That would be a question, I think, for Andy or Derek.
Well,
I wasn't part of those conversations.
that was part of the conversation, and I'm going to call it a global one on bid scopes that we couldn't get people in on, and or people, you know, maybe they were there and now they're not available anymore, that we could fill in and self-perform those items. Well, this happens to be one of those that we don't have the ability to self-perform the labor portion of that at this moment. But we don't need to be, we can't do electrical work right now anyways. The biggest thing we need to do, biggest single task that we need to do right now is to get the order in on the electrical gear. So we need to re-up the budget, renew the budget, make sure everything's whole, and then proceed with an equipment purchase to start the time clock on delivery. That then will drive the best path forward for construction phase, because everything relies on that electrical package.
Andy, are you telling me we still haven't ordered the switch gear and stuff for the electrical?
We have not ordered the main switchboard for the electrical. We've not ordered the panel board for it because we don't have a GMP that we can order from.
And that's almost 2 years out when we do order it.
It's close to a year right now. That was in that schedule study that I did, was that 4 months ago or so? Had the broad brush details on it that showed how far out that was, and did it make sense to start now and then let a building sit until the electrical gear came in and wire it? There are activities we can do in between to be ready for when that gear arrives. We do know that Citizens Power has the main transformer in their yard. They've had it there since, I think, middle of December. So the primary power could be reconfigured into the existing board. We just won't have the new main switchboard until we can order it and get it delivered and installed.
So in regards to the time frame, I was looking on the GMP here, and they were created on 10/26. And so if I remember right, it was the November board meeting that the board saw these GMPs, considered them, and at that point they wanted to have some further discussions and some assurances from CB Construction. So in between, there was Thanksgiving break, there was winter holiday break in December, and I think that's why we're sitting here today talking about this. I know
This
this,
budget now is not accurate.
no, because we're still waiting, we'll be waiting for the electrical. That is
And we'll
correct.
be waiting for updated numbers
Mhm.
because those are so far
So
outdated that they're not good.
This says they expire on 7/31/2023.
Oh. Can you explain that, Andy?
That's the GMP.
Yeah, it says at the bottom of the A133 document.
I think that would have anticipated getting them signed within several weeks of them being submitted, not 3 months down the road, to be honest with you.
Okay, I'm gonna debate your 3 months there, buddy.
No, I get it. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. So we're at where we're at. We feel we have a plan moving forward. And I've talked to Derek about this plan. Derek is in agreement. And we have an accurate budget that we can work off of from HMK Consulting. We have some things in the works in terms of potential for a grant to help with the overage. And we're hoping to be able to move forward with this.
Right.
Do you have any idea, Andy, what the costs have done in the last couple of months, percentage wise, that we may potentially see an increase or decrease if these numbers have to be readjusted?
I don't. Things have been going kind of, I always say it
Have they
without
been
being
trending
flippant.
up? Have they been trending down?
Well, things have been trending up with interest rates going up. I would imagine that our markets are doing the same, but I don't know if they're doing it to the same percentage. They may not be seeing as big a hit. I know some of the markets were starting to flatten out and actually go down.
So I'm assuming labor rates are probably increasing. Are our supply rates going up? Are they leveling out or are they decreasing supply wise?
Well, material wise, they're some are up, some are down. I can't tell you item by item which ones have gone up and which have gone down. Labor rates generally would be up a bit. People are getting, cost of living adjustments.
But no
Okay.
idea of a percentage.
What I've been advised to in terms of labor rates is with prevailing wage, you go back to when the first parts of the project started. And that would have been the restroom project. And that's your set rate for the entire project. So we need to do some research on that.
Yeah, sorry, John, just one clarification.
No, go ahead, please.
It's usually based on completing some contract with the broker. That sets the prevailing wage for that part of the project.
So is that citing the GMP?
Because there was signed contracts before.
Let's see.
Yeah. We'd have to look, but that was what I was
That may
advised.
be what you could refer back to.
Yeah, we'd have to look.
You have to look, we'll have to be careful and make sure that you're looking at the bid, the scopes of work as they've been broken out, whether or not that pertains to the first initiation of work, or if it was when the scope of that particular bid package was initially advertised.
So it looks like we need some further clarification on that. Yeah.
I think, I don't know if you've seen it or not, I think what I'd like to know is, are you guys gonna be able to get this work done? Everybody, in the community wants to know, and probably everybody in this room, we're running out of time, we're under a year now. You guys, are you confident you can do this?
Yeah, maybe you didn't hear it. Andy, did you hear that?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
Okay. Is that-
Andy,
is
I'm
that-
just a community member here. I'm not part of the committee, but
Uh-huh.
certainly the community and probably everybody in this room is kind of wanting to know with the time frame, are you guys gonna be able to get this work done? We hear this delay in materials and lots of talk, but no action.
Well, we can get the work done. We need to, again, establish a budget, get the authorization to proceed, signed up, ready to go, put plan of action in place.
But what I'm hearing here is you don't have contractors that have committed that, yeah, they're available, they're ready to go. You feel confident? Correct me if I'm wrong, we're under a year left.
Well, again, we have numbers there that are dated from subcontractors who proposed on the job.
We
And
have GMP.
we've not been able to contract with those folks yet because we didn't have, the signed GMP back in. We signed a couple of people up to get started with the VOC, the hole that's out there in the grass. We also moved forward with the initial demolition work there on the hallway and panel room, because we wanted to get going and get a charge on that, try to get that work in and sealed up before the rain hit. But we got that started, and then the budget numbers came in. I don't think they were quite GMP at that point, and we had a bit of a reprioritization from the line that we were following as far as which of the packages were to go in which order. That threw us a little bit of a curveball as well. But we got the numbers in, we needed the signatures on the GMPs, we had anticipated them coming back I'm going to say a little shorter order than we've seen. That would have allowed us to grab those people right then and there without question. It's been long enough now with the qualifications that are on those proposals from the subcontractors. We need to revisit them. We need to make sure. Maybe they are all good, but they're qualified that they were only good for 30, 60, 90 days. And those qualifications have expired. So I need to reach back out to those folks and confirm with them.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make clear, I'm just here to be the squeaky wheel and can I make a recommendation that we meet every 2 weeks until we get this project rolling? It's been months since movement's been made.
No, I am painfully aware of
Sure
that.
you're-
I
Well,
understand.
It sounds like
But-
the ball is in, actually has
On our
been
court.
stalled in our court right now. So, in their defense, we've been sitting on something for 2 months. So,
Sure, but this is kind of a cooperative effort.
yes,
Phone calls can be made. Like I said, I'm only the community member here because it's my kids that'll suffer when this money gets pissed away. So that's what I'm concerned about.
Right.
You live in another area. I'm not sure exactly where, but this is kind of our school, our chance to make a difference. So
Yes, no, we get that. I'm well aware of that and the community desire to get this up, running and done. That's why we started the way we did. And we had fully anticipated that we were going to proceed along the same lines. It's just that there was need on the board's part to get a better understanding of the budget and get a better handle on it. And we needed to work with them to make sure that they got that on behalf of the community. I think
Okay.
that they have
I'm not-
that now and we need to follow up on, that the tide has ebbed a little bit, needs, it's back on our side. So we need to do some due diligence here in reconfirming those numbers so we can get back in and say yes, and let's go.
Okay, without placing blame, is it fair to, would it help if we met every 2 weeks? So that we're not a month down the road every conversation?
Well, I've said this before, I'm available anytime.
Okay.
If we need to set up a formal meeting, by all means, if it can be a video conference like this and we do an update along those lines, that works well as well.
Okay.
I'm here to be flexible and to try to get this done just as much as everybody on your end of the computer.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anytime.
Cheryl, as a board member, am I allowed to ask questions? Yes. Well, I want to know what the rules are. Thank you so much. Andy, just really quick, this is Racine Follett. I just
Hang on.
want to just ask a clarifying.
Oh, you got
I just want to ask a clarifying question really quick about these GMPs that were provided previously. So I know that Mr. Gallagher and Derek have had some other conversations, which I think we need that context as a board tomorrow. We'll need the context of those conversations to be able to make a decision.
Mhm.
But let's say that, let's just say that the decisions have been made. Are you prepared tomorrow to provide the board with updated GMP numbers? If these are truly outdated and not going to be upheld, do you have the numbers ready for the board to review tomorrow?
I do not.
So
No.
to the bond committee, there have been questions from the board. There have been needs, and that, again, Mr. Gallagher can talk to that about things with Derek and things that we needed answers to with bids and contracts and all of that. But I question how a board is supposed to make a decision if the numbers aren't in front of us to make a decision.
Well, I have a little thing here too, as Mr. Gallagher happened to at the bottom of the page of these GMPs and the dates on these, which I think you have, Andy, these documents A133.
Yep.
So if you're looking at the bottom where it says that these don't expire until July. At the very bottom.
in the small print.
On the very small print, it says they
July
don't, which they don't
31st.
expire till 7/31. So why are you saying this to us? That we need new GMPs when these are,
Unless I was looking for any other language in here, if there was any like.
At the end. Unless we sign it, then so then-
John, if I could, what page were you looking at in the?
it's on every document, every stapled
Bottom of
complete
every page.
document, at the very bottom.
In the footer,
Yeah,
Yeah, in the footer.
Third line.
Three of
Oh.
them say created on 10/13/22, expire 7/31/2023. And one of them says created on 10/26/22 and expires on 7/31/23.
I'm not gonna, well, I'm gonna share something here, and this may be a matter of semantics. I don't know that that necessarily goes back to the content of what's up there. It's the form that's being used. This is an AIA qualifier in that footer. And it talks about the document itself was produced on AIA software on that date. And that software expires on 7/31/23. It's not for resale, is licensed for one-time use only, and may only be used in accordance with the AIA contract documents terms of service.
so
I think that relates to just the form that we use through AIA, not to the
So
content.
tell me in the document where we can find your statement that states how long these numbers are good through.
Right off the top of my head, I don't know that it's that specific. It gets into the attachments that would have come along with these. The subcontract proposals and quotes that had those stipulations listed in each of the proposals that this is built on.
Well, to tell you the truth, Andy, this is all we've received. When you're talking about additional documents, I'm not quite sure what you're referring to.
The subcontractor proposals that were forwarded. I want to say that was it was just after these came over. If I recall, David had requested those, or you had requested them, Sean. So that we
Oh,
could see
part
what
of
the
that.
numbers,
Oh,
what the numbers were built on.
right.
Yeah.
That was later though, after this. That was a part of the process we were working with our attorney on in terms of making
Uh-huh.
sure that our I's were dotted and T's crossed.
Okay.
It's called schedule of values. It's like a breakdown.
The board had asked for that many, many times, and we received something from them. Christine, you might remember more than I, but I don't believe it was that total, that formal form. Would you call it a statement of that?
It says
go
schedule of-
ahead.
Yeah, go
Please
ahead,
do.
hop on.
of value.
Schedule of values.
Andy?
Yes.
Hey there, this is Chris Giggy, just a community member. Did you
Oh.
guys provide a schedule of values and that's your detailed for the cost breakdown for the GMP? Did you guys provide that along with a schedule, a Gantt chart with these GMP documents?
No, we have not received a Gantt chart.
We've not been able to do the schedule yet because we didn't have commitment on which GMPs we were going forward with. I did have a chart of sorts, if you would, that started to flesh out where the various bid packages aligned on the schedule timeline based upon the electrical scope of work. The knowing that our I'm trying to say this, the critical path on this project is going to go through the electrical gear. Obviously, it's got the longest lead time to get the material there. So we had mapped that out, and where along that schedule can we or would we be needing to start work to finish it so that it was a smooth transition with the electrical side of the project. So that you had kind of a laminar flow. Then we had the heads up from Mr. McKay about when the bond funds ran out and that we needed to have so much of this work in place by that time. That timeline and a cash flow projection that we put together tied together, and it secured the fact that we were going to spend either all of the money or enough of the money so that the bond money did not go away. You didn't lose it.
And did you provide that document to Sean and the board?
We did. We provided it to the group to be shared. It was, but
Yeah.
again, this was, I'm going to say at least 3 months ago, maybe even longer than that.
There was previous. Close. Tentative budgets, but nothing was ever solid.
Typically for us, we would take, right now I've got the GMP proposal for main power upgrade in my hand. I'm just going to use this as an example. It's got a budget attached to it. It's got a stipulated price in the GMP. That covers a breakdown estimate. It's got a spreadsheet attached to it that's basically a broad brush schedule of values. It's a summary level.
I
But
think
once
this
the-
might be what he's referring to. You wanna
Once
show
the
the
contract
picture?
is signed, then we prepare a detailed schedule of values. That's the one that we would be billing against. But it's got the same numbers in it. It just has
That
more
was-
detail.
That was with the first GMP that was given to us back.
There isn't a date, no. Oh, no, here it is, August 24th, 2022.
From our August meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, so there should have been, with the GMPs that came over, there should have been a detailed schedule of value. This looks like the
That
type of
was
thing that comes
attached
down. Yeah,
with
they're
this
showing me
one.
one, it's
They
got
gave
an
us in August.
LCVOC, Andy, it's August 24th, 2022.
Mhm.
Starts with your general conditions and then all the breakdowns by line item. Yep, that's right. And who's doing the work,
Yep,
the values for all of it, all the way down, then insurance,
Yep.
taxes, contingency fees. Yeah, that's what I was referring to with schedule values.
And it also,
that was with
if
the
you,
first one, but do we have that for the other three?
well, that should be on a, is that a, do you have the one there that's on 11 by 17 ledger size format?
11 by 17.
That would have been in our, it's in our board packets. There were multiple there that did not get approved based on.
The only reason I ask that is the one I'm looking at is an 11 by 17 print. And it actually has the same level of detail for all of the bid packages broken out in comparison, side by side, as you go across the spreadsheet. It has the electrical upgrade, it's got the HVAC upgrade, the panel room, and then the VOC.
So typically, as a part of your GMP that you get to present to the board, there should be a contract, there should be a schedule of values, and there should be a schedule that they're committing to. It says this is based on starting and ending. Not uncommon that there's a 30-day deadline, but it doesn't sound like all of that was provided back in November.
No, at what we received in November.
And it sounds like HMK's been kind of negotiating with you on these things, and their summary was dated January 8th. But it sounds like that's out of date from what I understand too, even though they were negotiating that with you folks, Andy. That wasn't really, those aren't really the GMPs. Those are, it sounds like they're estimates based on old numbers.
Well, there's been no negotiation between our company and HMK. That we've not, there's been no backseat negotiation going on to get to that budget level. We provided the GMPs at the time that they were submitted, based on the numbers we had, that were good to go.
Gotcha. That, my misunderstanding.
And I believe those same numbers have been used by HMK in putting their budget together, because they were also looking at an analysis on some soft costs that we don't have in our side of the budget. I'm going to see the owner costs. So they were putting together an all-inclusive level of detail.
Thanks, Andy.
We've got Derek's online now. He just raised his hand. If you have a question for him.
Hi, Derek, can you hear us? Derek, I think your mic is muted, Derek.
He's not a co-host, so he may not be able to unmute. If you want to ask Nathan to make him a co-host, maybe.
Nathan, can you unmute Derek? Please.
Texting.
I wonder if he was trying to log in on the same the Google Doc I was trying to do.
Is he on there?
He appears to be on, but he's muted.
They're gonna have to be updated.
And that means the costs are gonna go up.
Not necessarily.
Let's see. Let's see if I can unmute him.
I could.
Derek, can you hear us now? He's got a thumbs up. Sounds like he can hear us.
So while we're waiting for Nathan doing something,
Waiting, is it appropriate for bond committee meeting members to receive, be CC'd on anything that's sent into the district?
So say that again.
Is it appropriate to request that either you or you and Richard be CC'd on all the financial information that comes to the school? To Sean, I'm assuming right now it comes to Sean and Sean disperses, but is it appropriate to request that a board member or a BOC member be
In the
attached to?
past, I've always copied everything. you do.
Right, but we didn't get it until this meeting.
Well, yeah, because
It-
that's on this.
All right, looks like I'm unmuted finally.
thanks, Derek.
Yep, sorry about that. I guess sorry, the original meeting link wasn't working and I just got the new link. So we had sent updated GMPs as well as AIA contracts for those GMPs. I believe it was back in October or just September.
It was October,
Was it October?
Documents were produced in October.
yeah, and taken to the board in the November meeting.
Okay. And I guess from our side, we didn't have any communication once that was done. We attempted to communicate, but there was not a reciprocal communication about the GMPs, the budgets, etc. And so now, fast forward, 3 months later, and we're talking about approving GMPs. The comments about negotiating with I forget the company's name, HMK. We did not have any discussions with HMK about GMP budgets, and there was little engagement there. And so I think what Andy was probably getting at earlier is it's been such a lengthy amount of time. We need to make sure that the sub bids that we had are still accurate, and also make sure that the subcontractors that we had selected for the projects are still available. So those are two processes that we have started working on, Sean, from our conversation last week. One of the big outstanding questions is specifically on the electrical side, because that still seems to be the division that has some fluctuation in pricing and subcontractor availability. And I don't know all the reasons for delays in communication to us from ALC about the GMPs and the process. But we tried multiple times to get some form of communication, and we didn't receive it.
Eric, if you remember, we had a conversation the beginning of December.
Mhm.
And we've had other conversations since.
Yep.
So I'm not quite
But-
sure what you're referring to in terms of reaching out. So if there's something that came through and I didn't catch it, I apologize. But the board directed me to provide further clarification on the requirements of this whole process in the November meeting. So we did that. We sent you a letter and you asked me about the intentions of the letter. That was a phone conversation we had. We gave you 10 days to respond, and you did. And then it took a while to get clarification on your response, on your responses, because it was multiple, in terms of where we're at, and then to devise this plan that we want to move forward. And this is the plan that I talked to you about just a few days ago. So I want to make sure that the Bond Oversight Committee knows that we have been working in good faith with this. I'm sorry it may not have met your timeline, but we do want to move forward collaboratively with this project, and we know that you do too, because that's what you've assured me. So
Yeah.
So I think we need to come together on this and find ways to move forward, because we feel like we're under time constraints right now, and we've got to get something going. And but you're right, we have to get GMPs approved, and I've outlined the agreement that you and I have agreed to in terms of the plan of moving forward while we're gathering the electrical, because in your correspondence back with us, you pulled out of the electrical. And that was supposed to be done by your company at the last that I knew. Am I incorrect by any of these statements?
No, you're correct on the electrical side for sure. We're at a point now where we don't have the capacity to do the work that we now have, as well as this one on the electrical side.
Okay, so it's a capacity deal as to why you pulled out on the electrical, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, that's one of the questions that we had earlier. So do you feel that you gave me an indication literally hours ago, I can't remember exactly date and time, but that you would be getting some electrical bids in next week. Is that still accurate?
That is still accurate. I need to check with subs tomorrow and make sure they're still on track with their updated bids and new bids. But that is the intent, is end of next week.
Okay. So the rest of the GMPs, it almost sounds like from the conversation we had with Andy that you guys are going to need to go back and check the entire thing. Is that correct? Because that's the first I've heard that.
Yeah, I mean, typically any project where there's this big of a length of time from the bidding process to finalizing GMPs and value engineering, et cetera, that length of time, we need to do our due diligence, not only for us, but you as the owner, to make sure there weren't any price changes, especially considering the volatility that we went through in the past couple of years. I think it's just a sound fiduciary process to go through, because most of the sub bids usually say they're valid for 30 days. And so they're once you're past that 30 days, you're technically not valid anymore with a lot of those subs. But generally speaking, they will hold their bids and honor them. But there is the risk that some of them do increase.
Now, one of the clarifications we did seek more information on in writing was definition of general conditions, because those kept changing on us. And in the course of our written correspondence in December, you provided that list to us, and we feel it's adequate. Prior to that, we were told we could not see those general conditions, and that is technically a violation of GMCG processes. And so I'm not trying to throw you under the bus here, but I'm just saying that that's the type of clarification the board has been asking for, as well as a Gantt chart. And we have not received a Gantt chart. We've received tentative charts, but not to the accuracy that they need to be. I have to be able to assure the board tomorrow night that we're good to go with this and we're on solid ground. So I need your assurance right now that we can move forward with this. We can see the bids that are coming in. It is an open book, and we can get our Gantt chart. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, no, it's no problem. Yeah, that's not a problem at all. I thought that we had sent the sub bid information over.
So when do you think you can provide us with the full piece of information, so we know exactly what we're trying to approve without further delaying this project?
Andy, you now have to get on the horn with all the subs and make sure that we're still the ones that we haven't contacted yet, and make sure that everything's still okay. The Gantt chart is a little difficult based on start time. We do have a master schedule put together that has the hallway, the BSC, and some of those associated items. So we do have that. We'll send that over. I'll send that over tomorrow first thing.
Okay, it almost feels like we need to push a reset button and make sure that we have the accurate information moving forward. We need clarity, we need definition. The board has been asking for this type of stuff for months. And I can tell you right now in the room, it's feeling a little tense. Can you provide this stuff for us in a timely fashion so we can move forward?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Derek, I got a couple questions for you on that note.
Yeah.
This is Keenan, by the way.
Yeah.
So I get the fact that, you know, it's been a little while. You guys have probably picked up more work, which is probably the reason you can't, or that you have backed out of the electrical, doing the electrical. I believe you guys are required to do at least 25% of the work. Obviously, we had hoped you guys would do more. That was kind of the reason we hired you. But since you're backing out of the electrical, what do you guys intend to do moving forward to complete that 25% of work? I believe that's the number. Am I correct?
I don't recall 25%. I don't think you can split. Yeah, you can't legally put that percentage on a public contract project.
Okay, I could be wrong. Somewhere down the line, I heard that you guys are supposed to do an X percentage of the bond work. Sean, do you got anything to say on that?
I'm sorry, I was involved in another conversation. Can you state that again, Keenan?
Is CB required to do X percentage of the bond work?
I have not seen anything that indicates that.
Okay.
Derek, are you aware of anything that indicates that in writing?
No, you can't legally say a single company has to maintain 25% ownership of the work or the construction portion. It's a public process. You just can't legally do that.
Okay, well, that's my bad. It was I guess maybe hearsay then.
Hey,
Anyway,
Keenan, if I
yeah.
could real quick on this topic, if you have it, great. If you don't, I can get it to you. But that spreadsheet I was talking about earlier, 11 by 17 that had all of the scopes lined out side by side.
Okay.
In that spreadsheet, under the subcontractor columns, it indicates who the sub is, including those items that we had intended at that point to self-perform. So
Okay.
that information is there and available, and I don't know what the dollar total is, but it'd be pretty easy to run through there and do that.
I would like to see that done because I am correct in thinking there was a certain percentage, right? I mean, I guess with just,
No, you can't legally say we're gonna do 25%. It's just not a legally possible thing with state funding for a school.
Yeah, and Keenan, as I think about it, I think Derek's right on that too.
okay. Dave, I appreciate you saying that, but yes, if you could email that to me, that'd be great.
Yeah.
We do-
Derek, second question I had is, one of the biggest reasons you guys were having issues getting work done was, you said, was getting subcontractors. You guys couldn't find subcontractors. It sounds like you have no problem finding subcontractors now. I mean, has something changed? You guys sound pretty sure that you'll have no problem finding subcontractors now. And it's short, more of a short amount of time than you had prior.
Yeah, the market's opened up a little bit
Okay.
compared to where it was at 4 or 5 months ago.
Okay. Okay, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
So we have a question on our end.
Okay, I'd like to state, Mr. Gallagher, I appreciate your transparency in that last conversation. It was very enlightening.
Thank you.
It sounds like, to me, there was continual questions asked, no response. Did you say the Gantt chart typically doesn't come until GMPs are signed? No, they come before with the GMP.
I would sign it without first.
Okay,
You should have a full contract and schedule of values, the breakdown of the subcontractor prices, schedule, breakdown of the general
Okay.
conditions that was asked for. I
My-
wouldn't sign it without that.
my next question is, has the board received all of the answers to the questions that have been directed back towards Derek? Mr. Gallagher, can you answer that question?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Can you tell me if all of the questions that have been directed to Derek on behalf of the board have been answered?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Derek, what is
and reviewed.
a reasonable time frame? Our board meeting is tomorrow. What is a reasonable time frame for you to have any updated figures back? Because it sounds to me like we're gonna have to schedule additional board meetings as well as potentially BOC meetings. And we'd like to be able to schedule that out appropriately.
I would say for everything except electrical, early to midweek next week would be reasonable. Because it would just be the subcontractors we went to reaffirming their bids, saying, yeah, we're still good, or no, we're not, or no, we don't have availability, you need to find somebody else.
My last thing is a statement, and it's only my own personal opinion, but I think the delays that we have seen in working with your company, we should be a priority on your list, and that should be putting other work aside to obtain our electrical work and meet our requirements. So I'm slightly disappointed in that. That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, so you have the GMP documents in front of you. Derek, I've shared all 4 of them with them from what we currently have. And I know you're working on the updates. I get it. Derek, we've also gone over the budget that HMK put together from the owner's standpoint, just so you're aware of that. That's all on our district website under board books. Bond permits. We'll go back to bond financials here in a second. Bond permits. Scott, are you still there?
Yes,
Scott
I'm here.
Marshall, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Good, good. So Scott and I were contacted by the county just recently in terms of they've been waiting on subcontractors to be listed so they can issue the permits. And Scott, if you wouldn't mind giving the bond oversight committee an update on that, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, so they've had the documents in hand. And I've gotten requests for, if you guys recall, we did file for mechanical, electrical, and plumbing permitting as well. Typically, what happens is the subcontractors do that. So we have structural, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing permits reviewed and ready. So I need to, once those subcontractors are selected, we can provide that information to the county and they can fill in the pertinent information so that when it is indeed time to go and pick those up, that they will be ready to go.
Pretty done.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Shirley, if you could pass out that spreadsheet, I'd really appreciate it. There's been a lot of questions in the community about the bond and the rate and all those sorts of things. And so I had Lorraine Sullivan, our business manager, put together an estimated chart of the full 24 years of the bond so you can see how it reacts and what happens during that time period. And keep in mind, this is estimated. So if you look at it 5 years from now, it's probably going to have changed, you know, because it's based upon a whole bunch of things. And I am not a bond expert. I know enough to be dangerous. But Lorraine put this together, and you can see in year one, bond payments of $83,850, ending fund balance of $29,000. So there was a certain rate that was leveraged to the county. That was 2122. So that ending fund balance transfers to the next year on line 2 there. And new revenue for that year was set by the budget committee at 77,000. The bond payments were 87,000, leaving an ending fund balance of 18,000. So we're estimating that this next year, we're going to have to increase our leverage to 82,000. And notice at the very upper left-hand top of the table, it says 94% collection rate. That's just a good solid figure to work off of in terms of, you know, there's probably about 6% of people that don't pay their taxes for whatever reason, you know, and the county can't issue money they don't have. And so, you know, we always factor that in, and that can go up, that can go down, you know, just based upon economy or a number of reasons. But as you see, the amount, the annual estimated bond levy amount is going to have to increase over the course of the bond to pay for the bond payments in column 3 that increase over the course of the bond. And what we have is estimated an ending fund balance of 4,288. You don't want to go under on that. And so that is simply an estimation of how we're going to be paying off the bond. The far right-hand column, which is not in the table, says amount of change per year. And so you can see that it's going to change from year to year in terms of the amount that we're having to levy from the county to be able to meet the bond payments. So I'm hoping that this helps to clarify some questions out in the community, just how a bond works, you know, over the course of time. Once again, I'm not a bond expert. There's other people we can get in the room that could talk to this much more definitively than I can. But it does give you an indication about how this is kind of a moving target in a way. You know, it's not always the same every year to year to year. Any questions or comments from anybody? I'm all ears. I mean, if somebody has something they want to contribute to this or ask a question, feel free to.
Well, I have a little bit of a question because of the mishap that happened the year before last. And so then they made our payments, if I recall this correctly, lesser this year to make up for the previous year.
That's what you see right here.
So then now you're saying they're going back up next year. Is that because of the shortfall of this year because of the
No,
mess? Okay,
No, it's because of the bond payments increase. If you look at column 3,
okay,
they didn't, they increase every year. And so you're gonna
Right.
have to do an increase. Now, the 29,000 in ending fund balance, that was pretty high for the first time through. And I think that's more the error that you're talking about. But it's all going to come out in the wash in terms of your ending fund balance. And
Okay.
again, this is the estimated chart. It has to be processed through the county, and it's much more complicated than this. But as it kind of shows that movement. And so that's why there has to be an increase over time to
Okay.
be able to meet that payment schedule.
just wanted to get that out there.
Very good question. Very good question.
Anybody else have any questions? So with that being said, we're going to, I guess we're going to possibly get another bond meeting. If we're getting that paperwork back early next week. And I'm sure that the board will make another meeting sooner also. I'm sorry. In order for us.
I think the board needs to consider a secondary meeting, but we'll have to vote on that tomorrow. That's a decision
Right.
that we'll have to make
Yeah.
based on conversations. with
So
the
then
board.
shall we,
Yeah.
then we shall wait. I mean, like, there's not very many of us and we can just shoot out, like, let's get together before you guys.
What we can do is as soon as we get the response from Derek that he's been talking about,
Right.
then we can easily call a bond oversight committee meeting.
And that should be early next week.
Well, I
Maybe.
will, I think what I heard from Derek, and Derek, correct me
Yes.
if I'm wrong, is that by early next week, you would have updates on the contractors for everything except electrical, and that might take a little more time. Is that kind of what I heard?
That's correct.
Okay, so I would, early next week would be everything else except for the electrical, and I think the electrical is the big question mark at this point in terms of timing.
So I'm gonna say I don't feel confident in leaving that timeline open-ended. I think that we should be specific. If you
Can I
guys,
make a suggestion really quick? So when the board sets a secondary meeting in the month, we often look for 2 weeks later. So you may find benefit in setting your bond meeting the day before that, which would be like the 25th.
Yep.
Because when we make decisions and we vote, we often go that route. Again, I'm not speaking for the board. It would require a vote, so that may change, but
I was
we hold on the calendar. for
looking
that
at my
10th.
calendar, looking, your meeting is tomorrow, the 12th. We get numbers by early to mid next week. That would be the 18th. You guys would obviously need time to review. We would meet the 25th, and your potential would be then the 26th, potentially.
Yes, depending on what everybody voted on. Yes.
So I guess what we're putting into the record right now, the 25th.
Tentatively, 25th?
Yep, 25th.
Make- Making sure that the GMPs and those cost analysis and hopefully schedules be provided to the board by the 18th. Well, I would love to see them, but I think it's more important that you guys see them.
You are a huge component of how we make our decisions, however, so
I think we should all get them by the 18th.
We can certainly request that, but
Yeah.
we know that there's more.
Can you provide a commitment to that, Derek?
The
Of getting
18th?
those things to us by the 18th?
Yeah, I mean, we'll do our best. And we're really kind of at the mercy of the subs. We'll give the subs a deadline of the 17th with the intent of giving you guys the information the 18th. I believe we can make that date work.
All right. Put
Okay.
it in there.
I have a question, just really quick from a board aspect.
Yes.
You, Sean, you have meetings with the CB, and you and Ryan have those meetings, correct? And
We're
is
gonna
it
start having
possible
those
for you
weekly
guys
meetings
to have
again.
Those meetings
Those have been
maybe?
delayed over the holiday season,
Yeah.
yes. But
that
yes.
makes sense. But I mean, maybe that way, if there is a delay in things, you and Ryan can continue to stay on top of that from the board
Yes.
level side of things.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, are there any other questions before we adjourn this meeting?
Have you double checked if Naomi has everything she needs project related information wise to search for grants?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, I've met with her a couple of times. She's been inquiring of Keenan for some information. And I know that she's reached out to Andy a couple of times, I
Okay.
think, if I remember right. But yeah, she's on
Okay.
top of it. But thank
Okay,
you for
I just
asking.
want to make sure she has everything she needs
Yeah.
to work her magic.
Yes, yes, and she does work. magic.
Yes, she does.
Yes, she does.
Okay, well, I guess if that's it, I guess this
Do we have-
meeting will be adjourned until we can possibly see everybody. Hopefully, pray, everything that is all involved. On the 26th of January.
25th.
So, is it
25th,
25th? Excuse me, because they're the 26th, right?
25th,
Yeah.
6 PM.
25th,
6
6
p.m.
PM.
here.
Good.
Yes. And thank you all for coming.
Yeah, thanks,
And-
everybody.
And Giggy, thank you so much. I know that your knowledge and everything that you have is very much appreciated. And questions.
Yes, appreciate you being here.
All right, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for everybody online. Appreciate it. Thanks, Derek. Thanks, Andy, Keenan, the whole crew.
You guys have a good night.
Good night.
See ya.
Good evening.
Thanks, everybody.